Right, the time is 6:04 p.m. on this, the 18th day of January of 2017, and I call this meeting of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. If you can help me out with the roll, please.
Ramiro Vélez,
Present.
Ricardo Rodriguez,
Present.
Juan Roberto Ramirez,
Present.
Judd Gilpin,
Present.
Elisa Flores Oliveros present. Ricardo Molina and Javier Montemayor are not present. We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Could everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, the Texas Pledge, in a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Please be seated. All right. Do we have any board announcements? Anybody like to make
Yes.
any? All right, Roberto, go ahead.
I want to welcome everyone here present, and I just, even though it's almost to the middle of the month of the year 2016, January, Happy New Year. Wish you the best, the full year, and just to begin with a very positive attitude for the rest of the year and your life, for the betterment of yourself and the family, and for your students. And also want to include, if you don't mind, those who believe, those believers, please just pray a little bit of a good thought for Ricardo Molina, one of our board members in the hospital, and Javier Montemayor, recuperation from the surgery. Thank you very much. Que no se acabe United.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto. All right. Any other announcements? Okay. I think we checked, and there's
No public
comments.
comments. No, sir.
Very good. At this time, we'll move forward with item 5, recognitions.
Yes, Mr. Gilpin, members of the board, if you all can join us at the front for recognitions. We have, which is really the best part of the meeting, as we recognize, our students, and obviously our parents and our staff, and really most important is our board members. On behalf of the 44,000 students and over 6,000 employees, I want to thank the board for their commitment for United. It's really because of your leadership that I think we look at how well we've done at our schools, and it's really a tribute to your leadership and guidance. And on behalf of everybody, I want to thank you. And this is Board of Trustees Month. Congratulations. Thank you all very much. If you can join me at the front, please.
Good evening, Mr. Santos, members of the board, and the audience. It is my distinct pleasure to present to you our very first participants in the Steamboat Challenge. We look forward to our Steamboat tournament, which will take place in June here at this auditorium. Everybody is invited. But we did begin with 27 representatives, one from each campus, who joined us in a competition. And at that competition, they did have a half hour of code, a STEAM apron activity where they learned about science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, what it's all about and what it all encompasses. And then they had a science and math STAR formatted online test, which helped determine our finalists. And then our finalists came back the next day here to our auditorium to compete in the Steamboat Challenge, which required them to work as teams with other students from other campuses as they answered different questions in science and math together as a team. And then they faced an engineering challenge at the very end. So we're very proud. Please put your hands together for these awesome students. They are all winners. But the teams did accumulate points as they worked together throughout the challenge. And I'm just going to mention, you can see the pictures and all the information and their points on our website. It's on our elementary blog. However, our first place team, earning 59.33 points, is our red team. So, and making up our red team, we have from Salinas Elementary, Juan Jimenez. Congratulations to Juan Jimenez from Salinas Elementary. From Clark Elementary, Christopher Perez. From Newman Elementary, Mark Rodriguez. And from Gutierrez Elementary, Monica Reina, and they are joined by their principals and STMs. Congratulations. They each received, of course, their apron, which they created themselves, their medal, and they're each taking home a DVD, which recorded the entire challenge for our parents. Stay STEAM. Awesome job. Congratulations. And this is our first place team. Our next team to be recognized is our blue team, and making up our blue team, we have from Prada Elementary, Ricardo Lara, joined by his proud principal, Ms. Raquel Alvarado. From Centeno Elementary, Christian Robledo. Congratulations. In absentia from Troutman Elementary, Pamela Barragan. And from Malakoff Elementary, Emily Santos, joined by her proud principal, Ms. Ana Martinez. Congratulations to our blue team. Good job, boys and girls. Congratulations. Working together for the orange team, we have Aldo Cantu from Perez Elementary. He's joined by his proud principal, Ms. Salud Hernandez. From Cuellar Elementary, we have Nicholas Novello. And he's joined by his proud principal, Ms. Melissa Shin. From Bonnie Elementary, we have Gael Caballero, joined by Ms. Pat Lañas, proud principal. Congratulations. And rounding off the orange team, Hector Mendez from Borchers Elementary. Congratulations. Joined by his proud principal, Ms. Mucia Flores. And we got it. Well done, boys and girls. Be sure to, oh, one more. Congratulations. Study your DVDs and get ready for June. And our green team. I hear known as the Dream Team. Congratulations to Elisa Zapata from Kennedy Zapata, joined by her proud teacher, Ms. Martinez, and also proud principal, Ms. Martinez. Congratulations. From Faskin Elementary, Mauricio Maldonado. Congratulations to you. And he's joined by his proud principal, Ms. Melba Gutierrez. From Roosevelt Elementary, congratulations go out to Brian Valdez. And he's joined by his proud principal, Ms. Sylvia Ruiz. From De Llano Elementary, congratulations to Daniel Cardenas, joined by proud principal, Ms. Diana Carodi. And we have a number 5, Yadiel Santos from Muller Elementary, joined by his proud principal, Ms. Ramirez. And we had 5 students in this team randomly done. However, it is because we had a tie the day before when we had our competition through the online test. And that is why we had to have one team with 5 members instead of 4. A big thank you to all our principals for allowing us to do this Steamboat Challenge. It was an awesome experience to see our students from different campuses working together as teams and thinking. Remember us when you get famous, okay? Congratulations.
Okay, the next person that we want to recognize today, and I think this won't be her last recognition. We have a special program for her at the end of this month at La Posada. It's Delia Campos, Ms. Campos. Delia has worked for United ISD for over 32 years. Delia started as a special ed aide in Salinas, worked all the way through his work in the instructional department, federal programs, and for the last, how many years? Superintendent. Yeah. With me, she's worked over 10 years. It's actually 12 years, and she's worked with all 5 superintendents in order for her to put up with us. Outstanding. And we're going to miss her. I mean, she's been secretary and superintendent for the last, 15, 18 years. And Delia, on behalf of the board of trustees, staff, our students, want to thank you. We're going to miss you. You've always done an outstanding job, very professional. But we'll recognize you at the end of the month. But again, congratulations and thank you for what you've done for us. Thank you. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our recognitions part of the board meeting this evening. If any honorees would like to go ahead and take this opportunity to continue on with the rest of their evening, they're welcome to. We will be staying here in the auditorium to continue with the board meeting. Once again, thank you and congratulations on your achievements, students.
Okay, we'll give people a chance to exit. Give them 2 or 3 minutes here.
Yes, but before we go to break, we have
Thank you.
It's just donations and resolution and then presentation.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's let them. On the consent agenda items, who do we have that's going to actually do this?
BA's
The
wife
consent agenda?
is Delia's sister-in-law.
All right. Before we move on to the next item, we're going to afford Mr. Ramirez a chance to say a few words. Go ahead, Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Gilpin. I just want to thank for the good thought that the district has for us. We're proud as a board member, I speak for myself, but the rest of the board, to serve as a board member. I know that we're elected by the community and for the community and work for the students, administration, teachers. So I'm proud to be a board member and thank you for recognizing us every single year that God gave us lives on this world to be here with you all and the community. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. All right. That'll take us to consent agenda items. Do we have a motion on the consent agenda items?
Yes, sir. The instructional and business meeting met on January the 10th. Make a motion to approve item A through F.
We have a motion and a second?
Second.
Anybody?
Second.
All right. There's discussion, or did you have to, want to add something?
Yes, Mr. Gilpin, there's one more request that we'd like the board to consider, one more discretionary funds request. It's from United South High School, requested by Adriana Ramirez and sponsored by Mr. Rick Rodriguez for the amount of $500 and Mr. Ramiro Vélez III for an amount of $3,100. Funds to be used for the National Cheerleader Competition on January 20th through the 23rd.
All right, very good. We'll need a motion to amend the previous motion.
Make a motion to.
Okay, so we have a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, thank you. Moving on to items for individual consideration, we have item 7A, donations.
Yes, Mr. Gilpin, members of the board, it is recommended that the board graciously accept the following donations, and they will be attached to the minutes. We have several donations over $1,000. UISD Bilingual ESL Dual Language Department received a donation of $1,000 from the Oregon Research Institute. The McKinney-Vendo and migrant students receive the following donations for the United in the Spirit of Giving event. Los Amigos Distribution Center, clothes donating value $1,800. Laredo Energy Room, a jacket and toy donations value $1,200. Adonial Dental Clinic, donation of $1,300. Infantil's Pretty Angels, dress donation value at $1,500. Pat's Hair Salon, haircuts valued at $1,250. And we have several donations under $1,000. This month, grand total was $11,650 that we graciously accept. I want to thank these parents and vendors for helping our schools.
All right, thank you. We have a motion?
I have a motion to approve.
Second?
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? Very good. Item 7B, approval of the resolution for the Texas School Accountability System.
Evening, members of the board, Mr. Santos, members of the audience. At this time, on behalf of our United Independent School District, I'm recommending to the Board of Trustees to consider a resolution concerning the A2F Accountability Rating System. We can have that up, please. concerning the AF Accountability Rating System for Texas Public Schools. All board members behind me are the curriculum instruction executive directors. We have met before, concerning this item. I've also met with all our principals yesterday. We have the full support of all our principals in our district. The state of Texas House Bill 2804 passed by the 84th Texas Legislature 2015, whereas the 84th Texas Legislature has enacted legislation that requires the Commissioner of Education to implement a public school rating system that would assign A through F grades to schools and districts beginning with 2017-18 school year. And whereas at least 16 states have implemented a similar rating system utilizing A through F for schools and districts, and to date, there is no definite research that suggests these ratings have improved student or school performance. And whereas a recent statewide survey conducted by State Board of Education, an overwhelming majority of Texans do not want high state standardized test scores to serve as the primary basis for a public school rating system. And whereas the majority, which is 55% of the A through F grades, are based on the State of Texas Assessment of Academic Readiness, which is a STAR, a high-stakes standardized test that does not accurately measure student learning. And whereas the STAR provides little meaningful information to guide student learning, inform teachers, or report academic progress to parents. And whereas the Commissioner's proposed rating system utilizing A through F grades for schools and districts include 5 domains and numerous unrelated indicators to determine a single grade, leaving the public with an invalid, disconnected reflection of school quality. And whereas the Commissioner's proposal rating system utilizes A through F for schools and districts creates a false impression about students, ignores the unique strengths of each school, and unfairly reduces each student's worth to the school's assigned grade. And whereas we embrace, which we do, we embrace meaningful accountability that informs students, parents, and teachers about the learning needs for each student in our district and each school. And whereas we believe our state's future prosperity relies on a high-quality education system that prepares students for college and careers, and without such a system, Texas economic comprehensiveness and ability to attract new business will falter. Now, therefore, be it the resolve that United Independent School District Board of Trustees calls on the Texas Legislature to repeal the rating system utilizing A through F for schools and districts, and develop a community-based accountability system to empower school districts to design their own internal system for assessment and accountability, that while meeting general state standards allows districts to customize curriculum and instruction to meet the needs and interests of each student and their communities, and be it further resolved, this new system should reduce the use of high-stakes standardized tests, encompass multiple assessments, reflect greater validity, and more accurately reflect the students' know and can do in terms of the rigor and standards. This resolution, accountability system for the State of Texas, we're asking for support. At this time, there are 238 districts across Texas who have already had this resolution passed, and we ask for your support at this time.
All right, thank you.
Before the board votes on this, I just want to go on public that United ISD, our overall rating was an A, but we still feel that this system that they use is not adequate, and I think there's a lot of issues that need to get resolved. But as a district, our overall rating was an A. And I want to thank our staff, our students, and parents for the support.
Okay.
More than anything else, it does, if I may, the different domains, we feel it also hurts our campuses as the rating is concerned. Of course, we have support. And again, Ms. Santos is correct. Through the rating system right now, UISD would be given an A.
And not only given an A, but compared to other school districts in the state, as I mentioned in the committee meeting, not only are we doing well, we are doing very well. And I commend you, Mr. Santos, and all the staff for that. I congratulate you, but I support you on these items.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor? All right. Very good. That takes us to item 7C, which is a presentation by TxDOT involving some right-of-way expansion that's going to occur along Loop 20, a little bit north of 59, and it would be a little bit, I guess as most people would realize, it'd be a little bit south of the airport area, so right in that area where our food production center is.
Thank you, members of the board, Mr. Santos, Mr. Cruz. My name is Melissa Montemayor. I'm the district administrator for Texas Department of Transportation for Laredo District, which encompasses 8 counties, roughly between here and Del Rio, which is Valverde County. As Mr. Gilpin alluded, we're here to give you an update on the status of our US 59 upgrade project here in Laredo. US 59, commonly known as Loop 20, basically right outside our door here, we have proposed for improvements and upgrade to an interstate facility. So in the future, we plan to upgrade that facility to a facility that you would have 3 lanes in each direction, the main lanes, and then 3 lanes in each direction of frontage roads, very much like you would see on IH-35. Right now, we do not have funding available for construction, but what we're doing is giving you an update as to what we're doing right now to get ready for the future. Right now, we are in the project development phase. So we are conducting required environmental studies. We're looking at right-of-way requirements. We're preparing the schematic for the project and preparing our plan specifications and estimates for the project, such that if we ever do get construction funds available towards the project, we'll be ready to hit the ground running and get this project to the citizens of Laredo. We're excited about the project. It's one that would definitely increase the mobility on Loop 20, US 59, and decrease congestion. With me here tonight, we have our Laredo area engineer, Carlos Rodriguez, to my left. And we have our right-of-way supervisor, Gabriel Lopez, right behind Carlos, who will be speaking to the right-of-way processes and acquisition process that we will encounter with the right-of-way landowners along the project. Carlos will be speaking about the project specifics, and then afterwards, if we can answer any questions, we'd be happy to do so. But with that, I'd like to introduce Carlos Rodriguez, our Laredo area engineer.
Good evening. Good evening. For the record, Carlos Rodriguez, area engineer. What you see in front of you is basically an overall of what Melissa described. Basically, you have, it's a 6.9-mile project from International to 59, sorry. It's going to involve some interchanges. Pointer? The overpasses will be at Shiloh, Belmar, University TAMIU, Jacaman, and Airport. The overpasses themselves the status right now of the overall project itself is the preliminary engineering is going on, basically the schematic, and the environmental studies are going on. The acquisition of this is going to require 400 foot of right-of-way for the whole 6.9 miles. So that's más o menos like 184 acres for the whole project itself. For the construction-wise, like Melissa mentioned, there's 172 million of unfunded construction right now. Do I need to go to the next? Okay, in the next slide, basically, this is kind of like a little bit of blowing up. The kitchen, y'all's property, United Independent School District kitchen, central kitchen's right here. And you will see the main lanes in the project, a dedicated area. And it's going to have 3 lanes in each direction on the main lanes, and 3 lanes on the French Road in each direction for the majority of the area because of other restrictions. But within your property, we are talking about the 150-foot right-of-way that exists currently. And like I mentioned earlier, we're going to need 400-foot of right-of-way to get the whole footprint in. So it makes a difference of about 250-foot of right-of-way. Let me go to the next slide. Next slide here is basically like a little blow-up where it clarifies, clearly shows your property, United Independent School District, Central Kitchen. If you look at this lines here, this is existing right-of-way, and this is existing right-of-way, this is existing roadway. Now, the new right-of-way will be from this point here, which is existing on the west side, to this yellow one here, which will be the proposed on the east side. The gap between both of them will be a grand total of 400 feet. So this one gives you an idea of y'all's property, what we're talking about in the taking. Also, your neighbors down here, the armory is also with the parking lot. But right now, the discussion is for the school district property. We'll go on to the next one. Now, what I want to discuss right now is currently anticipated project schedule. Currently, the schedule is as follows. A second public meeting is scheduled for March or April of 2017. A public hearing will be around summer of 2017. The approval of a finding of no significant impacts, which is for environmental purposes, is scheduled in late summer or late fall of 2017. Later this spring, the preliminary right-of-way acquisition activities would run parallel with the ongoing environmental work so that we can move forward with the actual offer letters for properties and acquisition going out only to after the funds is approved. So environmental has the first step, and then we start going out for the right-of-way. Construction funding is under development by the Laredo MPO, the Webb County, and City of Laredo RMA, and TxDOT. It's a joint venture with all the entities. What I wanted to do now is introduce my partner for the right-of-way will be Gabriel Lopez.
Good evening. My name is Gabriel Lopez. I'm the right-of-way supervisor here for Laredo. I wanted to go over briefly about the relocation and acquisition of the facility, your facilities. By law, we must acquire property with the appraised value and must offer relocation benefits to displacees. This is found in the CFR and the TAC rules, which are present on the screen there. In addition, relocation is under the Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisition Policy Act of 1970. So the two different types of acquisition is acquisition of real property, which are your buildings and your land. And relocation of personal property is items like trucks, your vehicles, your kitchen equipment, food, etc. So we're here to say we don't have all the answers right now, but we're willing to work with y'all on the relocation of the kitchen. We know it's a 365 operation, so we've taken that in consideration, and we're moving it up to headquarters and trying to definitely work with y'all through the process. I'm just going to go over the standard acquisition procedures. This is definitely different. This is your publicly owned facility, so it's different, but I'm just gonna go over what we do normally on a parcel acquisition. First thing you'll see is an informational letter we sent out with property description. Right now, we do not have property descriptions. In addition, a landowner bill of rights booklet will be sent out. A relocation booklet would also be included in the letter. Again, I understand this is a public-owned facility, so further down in the presentation, I'll go over that, the info letter, go over that type of acquisition. The info letter will be mailed certified. So the next thing you'll come into contact with will be an appraisal. We'll hire an independent appraiser. He'll contact you to gain access to your facility. I strongly advise y'all to work with the appraiser, show them what you have in your facilities. So that'll be the next step. Once we get the appraisal back, we'll put together a written offer packet to y'all. This will go certified mail as well. Including in that packet will be another copy of the landowner bill of rights, your title commitment, a draft copy of the deed, and an appraisal. You'll have 30 days to accept or counteroffer or decline. Again, we understand, don't be alarmed. We understand we're working with another public entity. I'm just going through the normal standard process. We'll definitely work with you through this. If you accept the offer, we'll move forward to close. In order to close, we need to have clear title. So any curative items will be handled prior to closing. If it's not accepted, a final offer letter will be sent to y'all. And you'll have 14 days to respond and accept the original offer. The next step would be eminent domain. In that process, a special commissioner's hearing will be set up. 3 disinterested party commissioners will come up with an award. It'll be signed by the judge. We'll deliver the funds into the registry of the court, and we'll take possession that way. If either side does not agree with the award, then objections can be filed. But again, this is the normal procedures and process that we do. We will work with you, your public entities, so don't be alarmed. I think you're most interested in your replacement facility of the kitchen. So as far as the replacement site, TxDOT will provide you, ISD, with a market appraisal of its property, or TxDOT may provide compensation to functionally replace the publicly owned real property with another facility that will provide equivalent utility. The state will not participate in the cost of any betterment, such as an increase of capacity. So basically what you have now, we're able to replace that somewhere else. So if you want to better that, you'll have to come up with those additional type of funds, but we'll replace what is now. So TxDOT may be able to pay you, ISD, the appraised value as part of an upfront agreement. This agreement will not limit you, ISD, to the appraised value. For an example, there's several options that come up with an agreement. One option is a public possession and use agreement, where we would close on the property as appraised value, 100% of the approved value. We'll let you stay in the facility while the replacement site is being built. When that's built, we will then move you to the new site. So that's one option of an upfront agreement. The next step was relocating you. So these are standard, again, these are the standard relocation process. A 90-day letter will be sent at the time of the offer, notifying you that you will not have to relocate no less than 90 days of the letter. After that, after we close on the property, you'll receive a 30-day letter. The 30-day letter will be sent when the property is closed, requiring a display seat to move in 30 days. Again, we come up with an agreement up front, we're able to work with you, you're able to stay in that facility until the replacement site is available. Some of your moving benefits would be actual move costs, negotiated self-move costs, a commercial move, and searching costs. You can choose one of these or a combination of all. We would definitely work with you on that. Searching is for the time, is to pay the time that it took to look for the replacement, up to $2,500. A relocation agent will be assigned to the parcel and will work closely with you to ensure you receive all eligible relocation benefits. Again, I understand this is not a standard procedure. You're a public entity, so I'm just reading off what standard procedures we go through. This will be your point of contacts here. The Laredo Right-of-Way Project Manager is Ana Lydia Bell Benavides. She's here with us today. She'll be project managing this, and I'm the right-of-way supervisor. So, I guess you have a lot of questions.
Yeah. I'll start with one. I think when y'all were first starting the presentation, talking about the funding not being determined, you may have difficulty answering the question. I just want to make sure we're clear on this. Do you have any way of predicting the time frame on that? Like how might it be as soon as a certain time, or could it be as far off as whatever, some range?
That's a great question. And right now, I don't have an answer for you. The type of funding that comes to Texas Department of Transportation for a project like this could vary greatly. We have our traditional fuel tax funds that come to Laredo District, but there are also innovative funds that could be coming our way as well. Depending on, there's Prop 1 and Prop 7 that U.S. citizens voted on in the last legislative session. There could be additional monies coming our way in lieu of those sources. There are innovative techniques that transportation agencies take advantage of. We have a regional mobility authority here in Laredo, so there's tools that they can use also to advance projects. So, right now I can't tell you 2 years from now, 5 years from now, we'll have that funding. But please know that this is a priority project for TxDOT, the City of Laredo, Webb County, and the RMA. And we're just constantly looking for ways that we can advance this project. So I can't give you a date tonight, but it is a priority project, and as funds become available, it's possible that we could maybe approach this in phases. For instance, I'm not saying this is what we would start with first, but if we got a portion of the funding for the project, it's possible that we could isolate the overpasses, perhaps at Jackman, at Del Mar, at University, and tackle those first. And then, the in-between main lane and frontage roads. Or we could tackle the frontage roads first and build those if that's the money that we have allocated to the project. So just depending on what money we have available, we'll look at the needs of the project at that time. Where are the key congestion points? And we'll most likely tackle those first in a phased approach. If we are fortunate enough to have an innovative financing technique that allows us to approach the entire interstate upgrade, then we'll do so from International Boulevard all the way to US 59, which is Saunders. But I wish I could give you a date tonight, but just can't do that. But that's why we are here telling you, explaining what we're doing today. We're working on that project development process, getting the project ready with the right-of-way acquisition that Gabriel here alluded to, getting ready for the project. We feel that construction funding could possibly come sooner than later. If we're ahead of the game, have the schematic ready, our right-of-way ready, and then when that funding comes to us, we're ready to hit the ground running and go to construction on whatever portion that we can afford.
I guess that's the first part of my question for us, even though I think we all agree it's probably a good thing for the community to work on this project. But on our side, a worst case, like to react to it and to plan and deal with it, would be how absolutely soon could it happen? I guess that's the first thing I want to see. So say funding became available in the next 2 or 3 months, or you became, how fast would be incredibly fast?
Exactly.
Are we still talking years or?
Well, the right-of-way process, one of the key milestones in this is the environmental process, and we alluded earlier that could be next summer when we have that environmental done. And I kind of wanted to go to that. Let me back up to that slide if I can get there. It may take me a few little punches of this remote to get there. One more forward. So if we look at the third bullet. We believe that we're going to have the FONSI, which is the approval on the environmental document that we're working on, by summer, early fall 17. Mm-hmm. That's one of the key milestones that we need to accomplish to start on that right-of-way acquisition phase. Right-of-way acquisition is one of those processes that really is contingent upon offers being accepted, or are we going to have to go to condemnation perhaps on some of the parcels? And that process is where the time frame could vary a bit. Gabriel, you may have some insight as, maybe perhaps on previous experiences. We're looking at 184 acres. It's a substantial amount of right-of-way. Gabriel, do you want to allude to, maybe from your past experience, how long on a parallel project would it take to acquire 184 acres along a U.S. facility like we're on today?
If you're talking specifically about your parcel, or you're talking about the
I realize this thing could shake out a lot of different ways depending on who prioritizes expending. There's committees and there's a lot of prioritizing can happen. What we were really looking at is if it got really fast, if somebody or the committees decided that they wanted to do this part first and the money became available, the most ambitious timeline would probably be, I see, beginning of 2017, I understand. But then we were kind of thinking, if we work something out, getting plans ready for construction, all the things that happen, we're really interested in how quickly is the soonest time we'd have to move. We're trying to figure out, are we talking moving out and possibly needing to be out of there in 2 years or 3 or 4 at the soonest?
Okay.
What do you think the absolute soonest is that we'd have to be out of there?
Well, I think it really depends on when your facility is ready. Unless engineering comes up with funding and they push that aggressively, we're going to work with you. We're going to work with you on when you're going to get the plans ready. When you're going to build the facility.
The plans, like if that phase of the project were to happen really fast on the TxDOT side.
Right.
Because we obviously put a lot of stock in the ability to stay there during some of the processes. Like, I understand you guys are going to have to be putting plans together.
Sure.
And acquisition starting in early 2017.
And I can give you it's a very rough estimate. After the FONSI is received, let's say it takes the right-of-way acquisition process, and I'm using a 184 acre scenario. I'm not going to use a phased out scenario. I'm going to use 184 acres. Roughly 2 years to acquire that property, roughly.
Okay.
The good thing is that simultaneously, let's say that in the fall of 2017, we find out that there's construction funding. Well, Gabriel can start with the right-of-way acquisition process. That'll take roughly 2 years to acquire. We can proceed with the PS&E development, the plan specifications and estimates, the set of plans for the project, as you know. We can do that concurrently. So I would imagine that on a fast track, if we receive word that there's construction available, say fall of 2017, of when we see that third bullet here on the screen, you're looking at fall of 19 on a fast track to start construction on this project.
So
And
3
that,
years.
again, that's a very streamlined approach, and that's with us finding out that we have construction funding available fall of 2017.
Right. So for us to utilize that facility to serve the academic year that would affect, I'm trying to think, would that be 2 years to get ready or 3 years to get ready? You said fall of,
You have almost 3 years to get ready,
okay.
almost
So
3
Need to pay
years.
attention to that.
Right.
Okay, thank you. And my next question, I was going to check about, on our property, the depth of it is greater than the right-of-way that you need. And there's kind of several parts to my question. Obviously, there's some kind of determination if the piece is too small for us to use. You know, so we want to pay a lot of attention to whether or not if it's deemed unusable by being too small. Do we have some avenue there by which to get you to just consider the whole property? And kind of a follow-on question that goes right with that is if we're left with a small piece, there are certain things, you know, if it's being used one way right now, it's got certain facilities that would be meaningless. Would there be money if we're left with a small piece to make it useful? Like kind of in the term, I think the lingo used in this stuff is damages. So there'd be two kinds of damages. One, that it shrank. And, you know, a deeper property, when you have frontage like that, is worth more money. So it's the little piece is worth less now because it's not part of the big piece. The second part of that would be the stuff that would that we'd have to fix to begin using it. Like, let's say, half of a parking lot or partial facilities. Do y'all have the authority to include that as damages and get that off of there?
That's right. There's a cost to cure, and what you're talking about is an uneconomic remainder. We'll leave that up to the appraiser. But if you come to us and say, we don't want it, buy it, and it's such an uneconomic remainder, we're able to do that by your request.
Okay.
There is damages and a cost to cure those damages. As far as the actual real property that's left on the parcel, we'll take care of that. We'll demo that with our funds.
Like that could involve removing partial facilities?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Also, I guess I'd kind of like to know if you have, is there some particulars of how you go about determining the damages there on some of the major categories? Like, for example, how do you, I guess, is it by appraisal? Somebody appraises it as a whole, and then you're going to figure out what the rest of it's worth?
We're going to hire an independent appraiser to come up with those values and the damages and the cost to cure.
And then if it turns out that we're left with a piece, can you assign value to the removal of everything there? Or is that something you do it yourself, you compensate us for it?
Right.
You'd pay us to
We'll pay you
remove
for-
the mess or whatever?
Right.
Or any other damages that you determine are appropriate?
Right.
Okay. And do you think, do y'all outsource this appraising
We'll
always?
Yes, it's an independent appraiser that we hire.
If you do you only use one, or do you use like more than one?
Just one appraiser.
Just one. Do they have different methods of appraising that you could implement, or they just do it a standard way every time?
It's a opinion. It's an opinion. They come up with a value, and that's a starting point. We're by law we get to offer fair market value. That's why we hire an independent appraiser, and he comes up with that value, and that's what we stick to, and we go with that appraisal all the way up through commissioner's hearing.
Right. Now, whatever your appraiser that you hire comes up with, or do y'all have a duty to disclose everything to us, or do we just get a final report?
You get an approved appraisal report.
Okay.
Yes.
And if they use different methodologies, do y'all pick one, or do you just
As far
share
as
with
the-
us all the methodologies by which they?
We let the independent appraiser do his work. We don't get involved in his opinion. That's what we're paying him for.
So there's no editing of it. You just
No,
receive
we're
the
not.
appraisal
Yes, I understand.
from one appraiser, and that's it.
That's right.
Okay.
We do get the appraisal reviewed by another independent review appraiser.
All right. Well, I may have some more questions, but I'm going to share some time with the other board members. Anybody?
Basically, the only thing I want to ask, I have a couple of questions. Has TxDOT ever condemned Laredo ISD properties?
Not that I'm aware of.
I've been here for 21 years, and I personally, in the past 21 years, have not been involved in any UISD acquisitions. Not that I recall, anyway.
I think you were asking about LISD, right?
Well, actually, Laredo ISD.
Yeah. How about LISD?
Not any Laredo ISD either, no. Most of our acquisitions have been either commercial in nature or residential in nature, but never with a school district here in Laredo. Not in the past 21 years that I can recall.
The other question I have is, what made it make the lanes instead of just doing it like an overpass instead of making the lanes like they have it in San Antonio?
Well, we are going to have associated overpasses. There will be associated overpasses, at Airport, at Jackman, at Del Mar, at University. So you will have associated overpasses where you have those intersections where typically, perhaps right now you might see a traffic signal like at Del Mar or Jackman. Those are, key intersections that carry a lot of traffic. So yes, there will be overpasses like you see right now at McPherson, or you see at US 59 and Loop 20 right now. We will have overpasses, and then in between, of course, you'll have the main lanes, the 3 lanes in each direction, and then you'll have, and those will, be in the middle, if you will, and then along the sides, the frontage roads that will be adjacent to either commercial properties, residential properties, or properties like yours. We'll have 3 lanes in each direction there, frontage roads. So very much like you see right now at I-35, in front of Lowe's, Krispy Kreme, that area. It'll be a very similar facility in nature.
Well, like
So, those type of facilities, and if you think about I-35 here in Laredo, you think about the interstate in San Antonio, those types of facilities increase mobility. And so what happens when you increase mobility? People tend to frequent those areas. You see an increase in the economy because now all of a sudden it's easier to get to those businesses, perhaps those subdivisions. When you can get to those areas faster, you have less of a congestion. So typically, when you have these improvements in a community, you see that rise of economic development, an increase in tax value of that property as well.
Right, and I think as we as a board, we are in favor of alleviating the traffic and working the congestion that's been occurring in that area. I think our concern would be that that facility is the only facility that we have that for food production for our district. So that's
Yes,
why
sir.
we're going back how much time we would have.
Right, and that's why we're trying to kind of be early in the game and trying to get everybody aware of what's coming in the future. Like I said, we're coming to you even before we have construction funding, just so that we can, be prepared and you can be prepared what could be coming in the future. I wish I had a date for you, but, we just don't today. We are looking at innovative solutions to your acquisition. There could be, perhaps, I don't want to go into too much detail because, we don't have any definites on this, but it could be that perhaps you could relocate into another facility that could be very, very close to where you are right now. And so it wouldn't be that much of a hardship, of a move, if you will. But, we can talk about those specifics kind of offline later. We don't have anything concrete, so I wouldn't want to create any false pretenses at all. Right. But we are definitely looking at some innovative solutions to move you much quicker, that would be streamlined and in a very close proximity so that you wouldn't have to move too far.
Right.
But we
I
can
know
definitely.
you spoke about the TxDOT or the state being able to release the funds like upfront.
Yes,
for
sir.
us, we're not going to be able to shut down that facility.
I understand it has to be operational 24/7, and that's something that Gabriel, Lopez here is very much aware of, and he talked about that flexibility that we have with you being a public entity. So we're definitely going to tap into those resources, and rest assured, we're going to make sure that you are operational 24/7, 12 months out of the year.
Right. I have a quick question going back. I know we already discussed a little bit about the appraisal process, but I know the appraisal was mentioned that that a person would be an independent
Right.
party.
The person that we hire is always what we call an independent fee appraiser. That person is not employed by Texas Department of Transportation. It's a totally separate company that does that for a living.
Right.
They're on our list of approved appraisers, if you will. And Gabriel, I'm not a right-of-way expert, but correct me if I'm saying something wrong along the way. So we have a listing of approved appraisers because we want to make sure that we hire people that are very capable and qualified. So we have a listing of people that meet those qualifications that we tap into. And then that appraiser typically will look at comparables, at fair market value. So they're looking at what happened recent sales along Loop 20 in the vicinity. What did they sell for? They can look at maybe comparables, have other, similar facilities been acquired in other parts of the state. So they're going to look at comparables. They're going to look at what other property has gone for nearby on Loop 20. They'll take all that into consideration, and then they will develop that appraisal cost. Right. Now, once it's submitted to you, if for whatever reason you are not satisfied, and Gabriel, correct me if I'm wrong, you have the option to hire your own appraiser and submit your own appraisal cost, if you will. If there's a significant difference, I'm sure that's something that the right-of-way process will look at. That happens very rarely, but if you see something at fault with the appraisal that was given to you, you definitely have that option to submit your own appraisal.
Okay. Prior to the appraisal process commencing, is our district going to have a chance to sit down with that person and review the factors that they're going to be using to determine the value?
You'll be able to accompany the appraiser on his visits, and you'll have that point of contact with him. Yes.
I think what we want to make sure of is that there's not, not having ever dealt with y'all's appraiser, we want to make sure that before they start, we have a meeting to go over everything. And they might not agree with some of our points, obviously, and they don't have to listen to us, but I think we want to make sure that we've talked it out with all parties involved. We don't want to get the end result and maybe something was overlooked that we could have provided,
He'll send
So
you
would
an
that be
invitation.
a certain thing that we can count on?
Certain, yes.
Great.
I have some questions in regards to moving costs, relocation costs. How will you determine moving costs?
Depends on what you select. There's several different options. It depends on the option you select. We can combine different options. You can do an actual move cost. You move yourself, we pay you for, it's a reimbursement. That's a reimbursement cost.
If we do decide to move ourselves and some of that has to be done after hours, would there be compensation for that?
You talking about overtime pay?
Overtime.
Overtime pay? We look at that. We would look at that. I don't have an answer right now.
Okay, and if once we do get approved for assistance for moving, will we receive written notice that we've been approved?
Yes.
And in the process of moving, if we were to have loss or damages done, would that be compensated for as well?
Loss or damages to your property?
For
To the
maybe
equipment?
equipment, if they were damaged during the move? No?
No.
There's many other
Because
examples.
that's
but like
something
some of-
under the moving cost.
Some of the facilities that are inside the building, some of the equipment in there has been, built and put together on site. It might be components or pieces, and it was all put in there new. Like when anything's first built, it's as it should be and it's worked. So if they start taking it apart and mess up things, do y'all have any kind of way, like when you're dealing with, I'm sure TxDOT throughout the state has had to deal with, existing facilities, so that'll be an area that we want to.
Yeah, we would definitely take a look into that, get you an answer.
So we'd be able to meet and discuss relocation costs
Absolutely.
as well?
There'll be a relocation agent assigned to you
Okay.
on this parcel.
Do you think there's an opportunity to develop some kind of language in an agreement or whatever that anticipates potential damages? You know, like, I'll give you an example. When you rent a car, you know, you have to check to see what it's like before you take it off the lot. When you come back, they check off and say, yeah, it's still the same or not. So do y'all have a mechanism by which we can evaluate the stuff inside before it's kind of taken apart and moved somewhere else?
There's a valuation that you can put on the property that's being moved, yes.
That's very important to us. Thank
In
you.
fact, and there's another option to get a specialized mover. You know, there's only one person in the state that moves that type of equipment, or puts it together, we can hire that person.
Excellent. That's critical. Thank you.
And the district would be reimbursed for reasonable and necessary expenses in the move? For example, if there is a walk-in freezer that's fixed at the old facility, would we be reimbursed for having to purchase a new walk-in freezer? In other words, fixed equipment that's lost with the building, would we be compensated for that in the relocation cost?
If the appraiser deems it as personal property, if he says it's affixed to the,
It's up to the
then
appraiser.
we will pay for it in the appraisal. If not, we will handle it as personal property.
Not as moving cost?
Right, you
Okay.
can't have both. You
Okay.
get paid in the
One or
appraisal
the other.
or relocation.
Let's see.
I have a question. Will UASD have any way to challenge the possession of the property after the condemnation award if TxDOT doesn't give UASD enough time to move?
Well, we're going to give you 30 days to accept the offer, counter, or decline.
Sorry?
We're going to give you 30 days to accept the offer, counter offer, or decline the offer.
Well, what I'm saying that the position, at the time of the possession of the property.
Yes.
That the TxDOT does, does it give enough time other than the 90-day when it
30 days.
sends the letter that it's going to be a process of, in regard to the property to be prepared of moving out and working on that area, and then the 30-day letter that you mentioned also.
Yes.
But in regard to that, would it be sufficient to move? Would
You
it
know,
be-
in particular, what we've talked about a lot is
Right.
that little window that would occur at that time. You know, it would be maybe a tight window for a warehouse, you know, and they're going to just take the stuff out and put it in another warehouse. But like when you have a facility like this, where there's so much involved in getting the stuff out of it that can be gotten out of it. The other part of it is, for us, we don't have any time that we don't use that stuff. So then the time it would take to get it to the other location and get it installed and started up again and figuring out the parts that need to be replaced that were, say, damaged or whatever, there's a lot more time needed to take down a production facility than there is a warehouse and then to get it back up again. We don't have like any season that it's not in use. I think, you know, a big window for that might be, and maybe somebody can help it. You know, it might not be used for a couple of weeks at the Christmas
Well,
holidays.
Probably about the only time is that 2 weeks in Christmas and maybe 2-3 weeks in, probably between July and August.
Yeah,
Because we do have that summer program also that we feed
yeah. So,
at different community centers.
on that condemnation step, would that be something that you might already know historically when that step is inappropriate for a given facility? Do y'all have a way to look at that step and say, well, in this case, that step has to be, instead of 30 days, it has to be 180 days or something like that?
We have the ability to grant extensions. We're going to work with you. We're not just going to say, here's a 30-day.
Okay.
I just have
That
one more question.
upfront agreement is pretty important.
Yeah, I would think that a public agency like TxDOT would realize we have the same,
No, absolutely.
same
Yes, sir.
issues. There's certain things we
We
just
understand.
can't not
We're going
do.
to make sure that,
Okay.
Yeah.
try to make this transition.
I just have the last question. Are the relocation fees capped?
Some are, depending on what option you choose. For instance, a searching cost capped at $2,500. There's several other caps, but depending on which one you choose, we can go into that.
But we'll have discussions about that
Yes.
as we move along.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I have another last question, sir. If TxDOT would not need or use the property within, I guess, next 1 or 2 years, TxDOT consider leasing the property if an administrative settlement occurs between TxDOT and the school district as to price or when the court sets a price on the property?
We would option to enter in a possession and use agreement, so we don't have to lease back the property. We'll allow you to stay on the property until the replacement facility is ready.
So long as, I guess would the condition there be so long as you don't have to make us move?
That's right.
In other words, if you have breathing room in your schedule, the float would go to us.
Free of charge.
Free of charge.
That's what we
Even
want to
better.
hear.
Does y'all's, do y'all have the ability in your qualified appraisers to really look and see if you've got one with a history of dealing with school facilities, and maybe zoom in a little closer and see if you've got one
Yeah.
that's dealt with the more operational part of the school, like what we're dealing with?
Yes, sir, we
I
can.
don't know, I wonder what the odds are of something. I'm trying to think of what else in a school system would be so unique. You have all kinds of other things that there's multiples of, athletic fields and stuff like that, but this is the only one we've got. It's kind of the oddest thing that you ended up needing, the only one we've got. So it'd be, if possible, can you guys look for an appraiser that has experience on that?
Yes, it's a very complex relocation. We understand that. We'll reach out to the best people available.
Okay.
Good? You guys have any more?
No further
I got a
questions.
few more.
No further questions.
You have a few more?
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you for having us here this evening. If any questions do arise after this evening, please feel free to contact us. We're going to give you a copy of this presentation. I believe our contact numbers are on the final page of the presentation. I think you know where we're located. We're just down the street here on Loop 20. Please feel free to drop by. Again, as a group or individually, we want to answer your questions. We want to make sure that you have the most informed information possible. So we welcome you to our office. If you'd like for us to come back at any time, we can do that as well. Thank you so much.
I've actually got a few more.
Okay.
I've got about 10, but I'm going to cut it in half. I'm particularly interested on the appraisal and how that gets done, because obviously that has the most bearing, right? So going back to different methods, and how one appraiser might do it one way, and you've already told us that we can get our own appraiser. When you guys have an appraiser doing it for you guys, is there, in that meeting that we could have, is there any opportunity for them to look at how they appraise it with different methods? Are they fixed, or do y'all have certain procedures by which they have to follow that are exact, or can they actually take some of our input and consider different methods?
We definitely can meet with him.
Okay.
But it's definitely his opinion at the end of the day. He follows a USPAP. So, again, he's an independent appraiser. We don't want to really push him this way or that way. We let him come up with an independent value, and then that'll be our starting point. That's our offer. We're going to make that offer, and then we can work with that. And if there's improvements that were missed or things that were missed, we can work through a counteroffer, administrative settlement procedure with you.
Yeah. I think probably the most all-encompassing question that I could ask you that would probably cover a couple of detailed questions I have here is, at the end of the day, you guys feel that you have a duty based on your procedures to make sure we don't lose money having to do this, right? In other words, we don't want to get into a situation where certain things are disqualified and we have to do it anyway. We have a facility that serves our needs here, and we have no reason to change that facility, so we understand we have to now, but y'all's process, is it clear that the intention of it is to not have us experience any losses as a result of this project? Is that the case?
That's correct. That's correct.
All right. Thank you.
I just want to add, for Texas to, I guess, recognize and know that that facility itself, it fits our students, the most needy ones, and everybody that really needs to eat for that. So in a way, we cannot afford on our budget to do any extra expenses in waiting for a facility to be put up by the district and the help of TechStat, because we don't have enough, we will not have enough sufficient money to go buy McDonald's or all those things and fit in for 2 or 3 years of the project and the construction of those roads. So I think we'll go probably broke if we stay that way. So I guess the better, the sooner, I guess, that the state could give us an answer in regard to that, to make sure that we're gonna have our facility ready and keep functioning to feed our students, because the school keep us on going and going and going.
Yes, sir, and that's definitely our intention, and that's what we're working towards, to make sure that you're fully functional every day of the year, that you need that facility. And again, that's why we're looking at innovative techniques to perhaps, move you in a fashion that you're not going to be non-operational for any significant period of time. So definitely, we agree with you 100%.
Okay.
Thank you.
And once you have a better timeline, you'll come back and let
Oh,
us know?
definitely. As we have new developments and, I guess we reach our milestones, we'll definitely come back and give you updates. We can definitely get with Mr. Santos periodically and give him the latest information. If he requests for us to come back and present to you, we'd gladly do so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to item 7D, proposed boundary changes for some campuses in the 2017 and 2018 school year.
So that's already left because it took so long.
Mr. Gopin, members of the board, Mr. Santos, members of the audience, it's that time of the year where we come to the board to, as an informational item, to let the board know that we're going to begin parent meetings. In this particular case, we're actually opening up a brand-new campus, so that does have an impact on the students. In this particular instance, it's the majority of the students coming from, or all of the students for the new school, coming from the Zaffarini Elementary area. The next slide shows what the current boundary. You should have a copy of this information in front of you. It shows what the current boundary is for the different schools that we have in this area, which the affected schools being Zaffarini Elementary. We are making some minor changes to Bonnie and adding some additional students to Salinas Elementary. The next slide shows what the proposed boundary change would be. The blue line indicates what the new boundary would be for the new elementary school. As you can see there by the little indicators, the projected enrollment for the new elementary school would be around 563. Zaffarini would drop down to 538. Bonnie would get some relief and go down to 720, and we would be able to increase Salinas enrollment to 831. The purpose of having the smaller numbers, both at the elementary, the new elementary, and Zaffarini, is to settle that situation down, allow for growth that could occur in those particular areas. A year from today, we could look at some other minor boundaries to be able to make those adjustments. The next slide indicates the actual additions and subtractions by the boundaries themselves. Zaffarini currently has an enrollment of about 1,129 students. The impact is the 583 that we showed on the slide. That would give a projected enrollment at Zaffarini of 546. And of course, we showed the other numbers for Bonnie, Salinas, and the new elementary school. And finally, the last slide will show what the actual boundary would look like if and when we come to the Board of Trustees and they approve the boundary changes. This is what it'll look like. We have worked with transportation to make sure that we're maximizing all the routes efficiently in this particular request. So just for information, and we should be having some presentations here in the next couple of weeks. We have already started on the naming committee. We had our first meeting this past Monday, and we shall be meeting again this coming Monday, and we will be bringing some recommendations to the board for final approval.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garza.
takes us to item number 8, which is going to be closed session. And I'm thinking we'll take about maybe a little less time, 30 minutes or so. About 30
Yeah,
minutes,
30
y'all
minutes,
think?
30 minutes.
Okay. So we have, need to adjourn to closed session. Let me see if we have.
30 minutes?
Yeah, about 30 minutes, we should be back.
30 to 45, the longest.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, we are reconvened from closed session. The time is now 7:51 PM, and no action is necessary, so that'll take us to item number 10, adjournment. All right, we are adjourned.